Good to go?
Yes, let's get it started. Thanks everyone for joining. For those of
Sure.
you who haven't met me before, I'm Paula and I'm part of the Issuer Success team here at Netcapital. And today we're going to be discussing the number one thing you should do for your fundraise with Space Funding. And we're joined by Jose Ruiz. He's the founder and managing director of Space Funding. And Space Funding is on a mission to help thousands of entrepreneurs raise over $1 billion by 2030. They specialize in elevating business through effective capital raising strategies within the Reg CF space, Reg A, and Reg D. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. This event is going to be recorded and we'll be sharing it with you along with any issuers who are not able to make it today. And we're also going to distribute Jose's contact information along with more about Space Funding and how they can help us all with an exclusive offer. And if you have any questions during the event, feel free to put them in the Q&A feature and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Otherwise, we'll have time at the end as well for questions. And with that, Jose, I'll let you take it from here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, Paula. And thank you, Nick Capital, for having us. So, hi, everyone. I hope you're doing great. You're enjoying your day. So, pretty much, I'm going to be presenting a quick introduction of ourselves, what we do, and then I'm going to be sharing a deck that explains how you can actually convert your capital raising into a successful campaign that can raise 6, 7, and even 8 figures. Of course, you want to take different milestones while you're raising capital, so that way you don't throw money to anywhere where it doesn't belong. Because of course, all we're going to be caring about is the return on investment and return on ad spend and conversion rate that you're getting on your campaign. So let me share my screen. So let's make sure that everyone can see it. And then if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them on the chat, and we can get them answered right away or at the end of the conversation. So pretty much at Space Funding, what we do is we convert capital raising to simple e-commerce. And as Paula described, we're going to show you the first and the most important activities that you have to do in order to make your campaign successful. So very briefly, a little bit about myself. So I'm actually from Spain, but I have lived for the past 10 years in Boston, Massachusetts, and I actually live there now. I founded 3 companies, one with a successful exit, which was a direct to consumer. So that's where I learned everything that we're currently doing. But from there, I actually moved into a VC role at Techstars in Boston, where I learned a lot about how to tell your story properly, how to convince investors to actually want to invest in your company. And we would choose companies that we would actually go ahead and invest. And then from there, I moved into a Series B where we closed around $50 million raise from a lot of different investors. Of course, the majority of them were institutional investors, but that really helped me understand why investors decide to invest in one company or another. And then from there, I founded Space Funding from the past 3 years. We have done a little bit over $70 million, $75 million at this point, doing a bit over 50,000 transactions. And our goal or mission is we want to do a bit over $1 billion from over 1,000 entrepreneurs by 2030. So what we're going to be going is where to get started, what drives our strategy, and what drives a successful Reg CF or Reg Plus campaign. So pretty much allowing any retail investors to invest in your company. And then the power of storytelling. So why storytelling is key in order to convince retail investors to actually invest in your company, what an investor funnel, and why we think it's so important and so beneficial for any founders raising capital. What is an investor journey? And then essentials, leveraging content and webinar follow-up is key. So I'm going to be going very briefly about this. I don't want you to keep you too long. So this will be around 15 to 20 minutes. If it gets longer, Paulo will stop me. So it's totally fine. And then we can go through your questions. So to thank you to attend this webinar, I wanted to give you something special. So pretty much I'm giving you something that we only give to our clients, which is a checklist that comes with a lot of templates. Of course, we'll be giving this at the end of the webinar, so you should stay. We usually sell it for around $550, but we're giving it completely for free. So let's get started. I'm pretty sure you already know a lot about the markets, but if you don't, the Jobs Act was actually approved by Obama in 2012, so it's quite early, which means there are a lot of things to improve, but at the same time, it's a very big opportunity because there has been billions of dollars actually deployed into company, because before this, retail investors and not accredited investors couldn't invest in the private markets. So essentially what we're doing is we are actually democratizing the private markets and allowing 97% of Americans to invest in startups. So for example, very easy example, if you had invested $10,000 in any of these companies, and of course, these are top companies, but that's what I believe a lot of the companies that are raising capital from RegCF and Reg Plus are going to get to that level, and they have actually gotten to that level, and I will show you one of them. So pretty much this is kind of like the return on investment that you have gotten. And of course, this is not right away. This is before they would have a IPO, so before they went public. So you would have actually made a lot more money if you would have been one of the first investors in their seed or pre-seed round. So a very clear example is Revolut. So Revolut actually allowed their investors to invest in their company. They got around 433 investors to join the RegCF when they did it. They were based in England, and they're based in England, but we're estimating, because they're IPO within the next month, so we are actually projecting around $1.2 million return from a 2.5K investment, which is insane. And that was actually just from people who invest in the RegCF. And there are many successful case studies. So this is just to encourage anyone to invest in the private markets, because of course it's risky, but it can bring an incredible return on investment. So based on and this is coming from the latest $45 billion valuation, which is the valuation that they're going to IPO. So a lot of people talk about VCs, but I think the future is RegCF and Reg Plus, and just really converting capital raising into a way for the general public to actually invest in companies before they IPO, they go public, or they get sold, or just through revenue shares. And there are many other financial products that you can offer. So this is a little bit more about showing the market. So in 2016, only $200 million were raised. And as you see, there has been an exponential growth, because in 2021, $10 billion were raised. So the market is growing exponentially. And this is all from private markets, from companies that are raising capital through RegCF, Reg Plus, and Reg D. So what I want to show you is that nowadays the sky is the limit, because there are companies showing you the path to successfully raise capital. So clear examples like Miso Robotics, Boxable, EnergyX, Red AI, they have raised millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from thousands of retail investors. But at the same time, this is a very smart play, because you're not only raising capital, you're creating a huge community of people that will love your product, which you can then use to generate thousands of pre-sales, subscriptions, customers, whatever you're in business for. So what I want to show you is how can I gain access to thousands of retail investors for my capital raise while creating brand awareness. So pretty much what we were discussing is, during your whole raise is a brilliant marketing strategy, because everyone is going to be knowing about your raise. So you want to make sure that you're doing a very strong marketing campaign during your campaign, but at the same time also before you go live. It's kind of like a double thing that you want to be doing. Another key point is you're creating a community of ambassadors, because retail investors, they work very hard for their money. So if they invest in your companies because they really believe in you, so you want to make sure that you have a good storytelling, transmitting a hero of a story, which is usually the founder or whoever is in charge of that company, and then really showing a lot of transparency to make sure that anyone who's interested in investing in your company knows who's behind them. Because at the end of the day, nowadays, people invest in people first and then brands. So you want to make sure that you're working on both angles. And then the third point is you're doing all of these while raising long-term capital. So you are creating brand awareness, you are building a community of brand ambassadors who are retail investors, all while raising long-term capital. So let's get a little bit more about how do we do it. So how can you raise 6 figures, 7 figures, and 8 figures? And what I really like to divide when I work with my clients is divide things in different milestones. So of course you always see the $1 million mark way too far, because it's actually quite far. But what you want to do is start taking smaller steps to get there. So you want to make sure that first you bring your community and friends, your family, anyone who's interested in investing. So you might not have many contacts, but if you actually go through all the emails that you have ever sent, through your LinkedIn, through your social media, I'm sure that you can probably reach out to a minimum of 1,000 people. So you want to make sure that you have an internal strategy to first let your community, investors, family and friends, anyone who has previously invested or who has shown interest, to let them invest first. So that way you can get to the 6 mark to the 6-figure mark. And then after the 6-figure, you want to start doing things like I'm going to be talking about to get to 7 and even 8 figures. So I'm going to be talking a bit about our system, but pretty much the fundraising playbook that we have put together. So what you want to do is you want to build an email list of investors, and you want to make sure at the end of this deck, I will give you the checklist. We show you exactly how we divide each stage, each phase. But you want to build a massive email list of investors. In the beginning, you want to do it with whatever you have. You don't want to be spending too much money on media, on paid ads, or anything like that. You want to first focus on what you have in front of you, and then move into other assets. And then you want to educate them on why they should invest in your company. And then this is the same once you are scaling to a lot more people. And then you want to use that momentum to keep raising a lot more. So phase one, let's divide it. We're going to be dividing things in phase one. I have been able to raise over 6 figures or like nearby, anything around or over $50,000 is a very good mark to get started. So what you want to be doing is you want to test and validate how much you can raise. How do we do it? So we actually do it through an investor funnel, and I will walk you why it's so important to collect all your data and make sure that every single person that is interested in investing in your campaign, you can actually collect their information, because otherwise it will be waste traffic. So I'm going to be talking about 4 key points to identify and track your market validation in the terms of how much capital you can actually raise. So you want to, the first point that we want to talk about is you want to predict and calculate how much you can raise, plus what your funding goal should be. So you should start with a reasonable goal and then expand after that. So let's say you want to start with $50,000. Once you smash that goal, you want to start scaling. So I take it from 50 to 250 to from 250 to $500,000, 1 million, and then you keep going. So then the second one is you want to use your ad budget while calculating how much it will return. So return on ad spend. You want to make sure that you have clear KPIs and clear metrics that will dictate if this is a successful campaign that you need to keep scaling or not. Then you want to discover, so this is the most important question, because once you identify this, it's extremely easy to scale, because you just have to find the places where these crowds are. So what I mean by that is you want to discover your narrative, so like why people click with the story of your company, and your ideal investor profile. Once you have identified and have discovered these 2 narratives, you're good to go, because you will know how to attract. It's the same as when you're doing with your ideal customer profile, but in this term, you're trying to figure out who is your ideal investor profile. So once you get those 2, yes, skyrocketing your campaign. And then once you have identified those 3 points, you want to determine how much capital you can raise after answering these 3 points. Not after, but just before. And this is kind of how our system looks like. I will make sure to send you everything in detail. But what you want to do is a different strategy where you're doing a combination of different things. And of course, this is kind of where you have been able to raise at least over $50,000, I would say. And then you can start diversifying and trying different channels to see what works best for you. So let's talk again. Let's go back about what I mean about capital raising to simple e-commerce. The reason why is because what we do is we are kind of the Shopify of capital raising, because we set up and create the same strategy. So we set up a beautiful website, which is not a website, it's an investor funnel where people will actually go. And I will show you the difference between a website and an investor funnel. And then from there, we collect their email, we collect the phone number. And from there, they can go to the Netcapital page to invest in your company. So the reason why we do it, as I was mentioning before, is because we're not only trying to get investors, but we want to make sure that we're building your brand awareness. We want to make sure that you are collecting all that data. So you're not only getting thousands of investors, but you're getting hundreds of thousands of leads in the good cases like Mr. Robotic, Possible, Energy X, and Red AI. And then, of course, why the main reason why you're doing this is to raise capital. But this will take your company to a completely new level if you do all this correct. So the problem is marketplaces, platforms don't have an existing way to collect your community and data. So for example, if your campaign attracts 1 million views, but only 1,000 investors, you are missing out on 999,000 potential customers and investors. But what they do is they help you create the whole RecCF very quickly and actually very cost effectively. So what you want to be doing is partner up with a company like Netcapital, make sure that they handle the payment gateway, all the regulations, because it's a very restricted market. And then from there, you want to make sure that you have a place where you're collecting all this data and making sure that you're doing retargeting, make sure that you're telling them why they should invest, have a beautiful narrative around your campaign, and so on. So the solution is exactly that. So building that investor funnel. So instead of missing on 999,000 missed opportunities that could have been loyal customers and investors, you're actually owning the majority of them. So how do we do it? Pretty much we do it through paid ads and investor funnels. So beautiful ways to explain how you can take from someone that shows interest, having a great hook. So of course, making sure that people are going through your ad. From there, you want to take them to your investor funnel to collect their email and phone number. And that's how clear examples like Mr. Robotics have raised over $128 million from 35,000 plus retail investors. So they have raised millions of dollars from accredited and institutional investors, but at the same time, the reason why they are raising so much capital these ways because it's the best way nowadays to raise capital, because you're not only raising millions of dollars, you're also building a community, you're getting contracts, you're pre-selling your product. So it's a very smart way to raise the capital that you need to take your campaign to the next level. Boxable, another great way. They raised over $150 million from over 40,000 plus retail investors, generating hundreds of pre-orders for the casita. And I'm just going to show you exactly how they do it. So exactly how Shopify works and how e-commerce works. You see an ad on Facebook. The majority of those e-commerce or D2C, they actually run a lot of paid ads. So this is a very similar strategy. You don't necessarily have to run paid ads, but you want to make sure that you get hundreds or even thousands or even millions of eyeballs into your investor funnel. From there, you collect their email and phone number, and then you just make a journey out of it. So a lot of the ads that they're running, and then all those ads, let me go back to the presentation, are going directly to their investor funnel. So here you can take their information, and that's how you start growing so quickly, because when you're getting so many eyeballs and you automatize the whole process, that's where you go from 6 to 7, from 7 to 8, and even from 8 to 9. So as you see, some case studies, they didn't only generate over $150 million raised, but they have also generated over 190,000 plus casita reservations. So go back to the presentation. There we go. So yeah, another example, Red AI. So no, sorry. This is another example, which is actually Wafor, which we are currently running. So same thing. So what you do is you take them from paid ads, instead of directly sending them to, there we go. Instead of sending them directly to the portal, you send them to an investor funnel where you make it beautiful. You explain why people should invest, extremely good highlights so the retail investors can understand, because retail investors don't invest in like accredited investors do or institutional investors do. They won't invest in your deck because of your financial model, because or this or that. They will invest if you make them feel special in a way that you touch their feelings. So you want to make sure that you're going for emotions instead of numbers. So what you want to do is you collect their name, email, and phone number. With that, you have more than enough. And then making sure that you're giving them updates through email and phone number on a weekly basis is usually more than enough. So let's continue. So just very simple, what are the investor page essentials? So you want to make sure that you own your database and that you're clear and have a compelling design, that you have engaging visuals and UX, so that your landing page cannot be overstated. It has to be to the point, but it has to be quite professional, because if it's not, people are going to be turned off, because nowadays we're very used to see everything online, everything on our phones and laptops. So if something doesn't look pretty, they will probably pass because they don't think you're the time. And then you want to make sure that everyone that is going through your investor funnel, you're telling them what to do at all points. So have a strong call to actions. And we're getting there. We're almost done. So let me just get a sip of water and I will continue. So the main difference between a landing page and a website. So a landing page, there's one thing that you want to do. You want to collect people's email. You want to collect their information, make sure that you get it, and then you guys start telling them why they should invest, like why your company is special. You don't want to be selling. So you just don't want to be sending emails on why people should invest in your company. You want to be telling a story through the whole race. So it's all about what is the problem that you're solving? Why are you in business? Why are you creating what you're doing? And then having a call to action at the end of those emails stating, hey, by the way, we're opening a community round and we would love you to have you as an investor. Check it out. So those kind of things. So the main purpose is a website. It has multiple purposes. People get distracted. They go to many places. So you want to make sure that your investor funnel is one page and there's one call to action, which is getting people's information. That's it. Second thing, so let's talk about investor journey, which is exactly what I was stating before. So once you get the email, once you get the phone number, you just want to make sure that you're sending them emails to keep them aware of your race. So that means awareness and interest. Consideration, evaluation though. So you can be sending them pitch decks, a good idea, personalized email and SMS. And then something that I actually recommend doing is have people make them part of the journey. So what I mean by that is have them fill a form to see how much are interested in investing, and then if it's a decent amount, you should probably jump on a call with them to see if you can increase it or why they want to invest that money and really close them on the call. And then the decision and commitment. So what I mean by that is follow-up strategies, reinforce the value proposition, and those are kind of the emails that you want to be sending that have a more call to action. So something very important is, okay, you're doing all of this well, but if you don't have a good story and your messaging is not captivating, people will not go ahead. So you want to make sure that you have a strong hooks all around your campaign. So that means from when people see your ad or any traffic that you're generating, you want to make sure that your first sentences, your first seconds on the video, the first email you send that has a strong hook, because that's kind of what takes people to keep going and reading whatever you're doing. So you want to make sure, I pretty much put it in 4 different things. So you want to make sure that you engage emotionally with them, that you clarify value propositions, so what you do better, that you build trust and credibility. So this is one of the most important parts. You want to be making sure that you're showing who's behind your brand, who's behind your team, and why they should trust you. And then you want to differentiate from competitors. So why are you going to take a size of the market? Why aren't other competitors going to take that part of the market instead of you? So you don't need to pay thousands of dollars on paid ads. You just need to be creative. I love this advertisement that has generating incredible amounts of capital for the companies that publish it. So you just have to be creative around the raise. I've seen companies raising big 7 figures just by being creative and creating a few ads that were very well thought, and they were actually recorded with a phone. So you just have to think, who's my ideal investor profile? How am I going to target them, and what they want to see? Like, if you can make it in a funny way, even better. If you can really grab their attention since the beginning, that's the way to do it. So we're almost getting there, just a few more pages. So how to leverage content in your investor journey. So I will send this because there is a lot of information on the checklist that I'm going to be sending, but you want to make sure that video content as a hook. So video works much better than anything else. Around 15 to 90 seconds is what we recommend. Anything more is not necessary. So you have to, the story of your brand pretty much has to be within 90 seconds max. And then you want to make sure that you have a lot of advertisement within 15 to 45 seconds, maximum 60 seconds. Then you want to make sure that you pitch deck for detailed insights. So offer a downloadable pitch deck, because that always helps. They can go through it. They might share it with other people. So it's always good to actually have send that through the email journey. And then webinar funnel for engagement. So I always recommend doing around 1 webinar a month if you can. If not, another good idea is to actually do 1 a quarter and then repurposing that webinar during all those months. So use that webinar as a strategy tool for educating and engage potential investors with a strong call to action at the end. So exactly what we're doing here. And then 3 ways video content can transform your investor engagement strategy: B-roll and voiceover simplicity. So like a founder talking out of the phone, showing their voice and telling people why they should invest, that works extremely well. Animated explainers, that works, but people actually like to see who they are behind the brands, even better. Full production and storytelling. So that's the highest level. Hire someone and make sure that everything is very well professional done. But nowadays, even with your phone, you can get very good content out of it. You just have to be creative. So stats show that landing pages with videos can increase conversions by 86%. So make sure that you have videos. And then since the majority of consumers, 90% prefer video content, smart marketing are working video into the landing pages more and more. So you want to be making sure that you have more videos, no more videos maybe on your investor funnel, but then you start with a very good and captivating video on top. Of course, your ads, you should test what works best for your brand, but images and videos work extremely well. And then that you have videos all around your campaign and you make it creative and fun to actually go through. So we're very close. One of the last slides. So again, that is key. Whatever you're doing, if you're not measuring it, if you are not collecting data points, is almost a waste. You know, it might work very well, but you're missing in very big opportunities. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, you're always tracking and you're always collecting data, because that's how it's going to take your campaign to the next level. Because you're not only going to attract thousands of potential customers, convert them into investors, that's the main purpose, but you might also get future employees out of it and more, making it the ultimate way to raise capital. So going back to how to collect data, investor funnel. So keep that in mind. Have a newsletter for your investors if you don't already have one, but those are the main points. And then a little bit about us. So about space funding, again, we have been involved in a little bit over $75 million from 30, 50, 100 issuers, taking a bit more over 50,000 plus transaction. And this is all we do. So pretty much we help with the start to the end of the campaign. But why we are much better than anyone else is because we own our own technology, we own our own platform, which allows to have everything in one place. So our investor funnel, CRM, so you will be collecting everything in one place, the email software, paid advertisement, A/B testing, reporting, tracking. And we actually adapt this to a Netcapital platform. So it's very easy to go from, it's kind of like a bridge between your brand and Netcapital. It's something right in the middle. And then once you collect people's information, they are taken directly to Netcapital so they can invest. Super simple. So this is the checklist. If you guys are seeing this right now from home, just download it. Take just tap it on your phone and you will see it and you will gain access to it. If not, the Netcapital team, so Paula and Troy, they will be sending you this deck so you can do it later. And then if you want to connect with myself on LinkedIn, this is my QR code. More than happy to help you in any way that we can. So just send me an invite and we can quick chat. And then this is a way to contact with us with the space funding. We kind of have a form pretty much explaining what we do, how we can help you. And then if you're interested in jumping on a call, more than happy to do so. So I will see you on the other side. And then this is pretty much, so a quote that I love from Walt Disney is the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So focus on the actions more than on what you think might work. And then once you have data proving that what you're doing is working, just go all in on what is working. So that's exactly how we take campaigns from 6 to 7 to and even 8 figures. And that's about that. Let me grab some air because I kind of wanted to be a bit fast. So 30 minutes, that was a bit longer than expected.
That was perfect. Thank you, Jose. I don't see any questions coming up. I just see Drew just asked if we're going to forward the deck. We will. I'll send over the deck and I'll also send over the recording. I don't see any questions that came up while you were presenting. It might be because you did such an amazing job, but we'll give people a few more minutes just to answer any questions that you might have. Otherwise, I'll also send over Jose's information so you can definitely contact them. I'm happy to make an introduction to their team as well. We have some feedback. Thank you, Jose.
So yeah, we'll make sure to I will make sure that those links work so you guys can all access the checklist. Then if you guys want to connect with us, you will get everything on the deck so you can review it at any points. And I wish you the very best luck and hopefully we connect soon.
Esmond, I think you raised your hand. Oh, I see that you wanted an intro. So I'm going to make a couple intros. I see a couple people asking for introductions. So I'll definitely do that. And I want to thank you guys all for coming. Just a reminder, we'll send out the recording, also information about space funding, and I'll make the introductions that have been asked. And if anyone else wants them, I'll happy to do introductions. And just so everyone knows, we'll also be hosting a few other events like this over the next few weeks. So stay tuned for more information about this. And if there are any specific topics that you would like for us to cover in a next event, you can let Troy or I know. And we'd love to hear from you guys. And thank you for the feedback that you guys have left already.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Netcapital, for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Talk soon. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.